Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Chris Casalino, the co-founder and head of services at Uptown Creation, a guerrilla marketing and LinkedIn lead generation company. So today I'm doing a overview and walkthrough of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So I won't be diving too deep into each of the tools that is on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, but I'm going to be giving an overview as well as one tidbit of how to use each area of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And then if you want a deep dive into any one specific section, you can check out the other videos that I'll try to link to that'll give more of a single video about a single area and specific topic of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. If you find anything useful in this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving a like on this video. That's the free way to help us out. You can also check out us at uptowncreation.com. Without further ado, let's jump into LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So if you don't have LinkedIn Sales Navigator already, in the description of this video is a 60-day free trial if you haven't used one before. So that's going to be a great way to jump in for free. You can't get that link anywhere else, so enjoy it. All right. So what you're looking at right now is the kind of homepage, front page of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So what you'll see is these highlights that are alerting you to things that your connections or new connections are doing. And you can sort these by accounts or leads. So a good thing to start off with is on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, there's a little bit of jargon that we need to give a definition to. So accounts are companies and leads are individuals. So when you see at the top here, account lists, that's going to be lists where you're able to save specific companies, whereas lead lists are going to be lists where you're able to save specific people and individuals. So one way that you can use the highlights area is to sort it by latest. If you filter by leads, that's a great way. And then what I like to do is look at lead shares. And so this is going to be all of the content that somebody's sharing. So you could see 10 hours ago, one of my connections shared a post. It's only updating in batches. So that's something to note. So you can see a bunch of people did things 10 hours ago and it doesn't look like anybody's done it since then. That's just because it hasn't batched the information and updated it yet. But that is a good way to use the highlight section. Over on the right hand side here, you'll see my priority accounts. So these are accounts that LinkedIn thinks I would be interested in. And then it's easy to go and look at decision makers at these accounts if I want to do that. So it'll kind of create its own search of the current company as well as seniority level. I don't get a ton of use out of that, but it's worth noting just so you're able to know what exists on the homepage. This search bar I would avoid using because this is just going to be a keyword search and it's not going to give you the most effective filter results. The thing that you can use this search bar for is if you're looking for a specific person or a specific company. That's where this search bar is going to be really useful, but it's going to be a lot less useful to search, CEO or chief executive officer or owner, because that's going to create a keyword search rather than a title search, which I dive into more in my other videos. So moving on, account lists. So as I kind of alluded to, account lists are lists that you can create to save companies to. So you can upload a CSV if you have an upgraded Sales Navigator account. You can also manually add accounts to a list. So I'm going to create a new list here and just title it LinkedIn. I create it. So now if I type in LinkedIn into the search bar to search for the company, I can go to the company page and I can save this to a specific list. So add to another list, LinkedIn, save. And now if I go back to my account lists, I'll be able to search for LinkedIn. One way to use account lists is if you save a bunch of companies to a list, you can go into a saved search and then create a new lead search, so individuals, but using the company search. And what I can do is I can include this LinkedIn account list, and now it's going to pull in all of the individuals that work at LinkedIn. So that's what it's doing when it's thinking. You can see 24,000 results. So then I can break it down into job title. I can do customer success search for that, and then that's going to show me the 979 people with a customer success title at LinkedIn. So that's a unique way to use account lists that you might not have thought about. Moving on to lead lists. So lead lists are really, really valuable. You can use them almost like a mini CRM for cold outreach. It's going to be the same thing as I just showed you with account lists, except for individuals. So if I go and search for my business partner, Connor Paulson, what I can do is save him, and I could save him to a list that I have connection requests sent. So now that connection request sent list, if I go back to a lead search, I could go and search for the people in that connection request sent list who is a first degree connection. And now the beauty is if you send a connection request to somebody, chances are they aren't connected with you already. So they're a second or third degree connection. But if you add them to a list and then sort by first degree connection, now you'll be able to see as people accept your connection request in a really easy to locate area. I have a whole video explaining how to set up lead lists to create kind of a sales pipeline. So I really encourage you to check that out. Moving on to smart links. So smart links are only going to be available if you have an upgraded package. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but it's basically a way for you to create a PowerPoint or a slide deck within LinkedIn. So I have an example where I just titled it Chat with Chris. What that does then, if I preview it, it is just an easy way to share my call link with somebody. So I was doing some testing to see if smart links would show up better than just sharing the call link directly. It doesn't, but in the future, I could see that happening. Another useful way is as a slide deck. So if you have testimonials, if you have any information that you share with people regularly, that's a cool thing to use smart links for. Something I have also seen people do is, let's say that you schedule a call from LinkedIn. You have a discovery call with somebody, and then you have a slide deck that you want to send to them after, or even an agreement that you want to send to them after. If you do that within a smart link, you get this really in-depth tracking where you can see if they've viewed it yet and for how long they've viewed each page and section. So if you send over a deal, it's really easy for you to see if that person viewed it or not. And then you can, follow up in an email and say, I noticed that you haven't viewed it yet, or I noticed that you did view it and you haven't signed yet. What questions do you have for me before we move on? That's how I would use smart links. Messaging. So this is going to be your inbox. Nothing more to it than that, really. When it comes down to it, the Sales Navigator inbox is pretty much identical to the regular inbox on LinkedIn. It's just two segmented areas. Being able to save people as a lead is somewhat useful, and you can also scroll over contact information and all that good stuff. And that is probably the extent that I'll go into messaging. The bulk of where LinkedIn derives its power from is going to be from these saved searches and lead filters and account filters. So again, remembering lead filters are filtering individuals, account filters are filtering accounts or companies. And then saved searches are the way to save those searches that you've created in the past. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what a lead saved search looks like. So you have a ton of filters. Again, I'm not going to go in depth into these too much. I'll give a couple tidbits here and there. So one tidbit I'll give is that if you go to spotlights and post it on LinkedIn in the last 30 days, that's a surefire way to find the most active people on LinkedIn. Going ahead and adding in geography and then connection being second and third degree connection is this is kind of the baseline format for how I start off every search. You can see there's 4 million people that meet this criteria. Then what I'll do is I'll use job title and current company to narrow that down even more. You can use industry. Industry doesn't allow you to type in words by itself. The current company filter as well as the job title filter, you can kind of free verse and type in whatever you want. So owner, and then I'll type in the word pharmacy. And now what this list is going to show me is anybody with the title owner at a company with the word pharmacy in that is posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days and is in the United States. So this is the bread and butter and the power of LinkedIn Sales Navigator is being able to do these in-depth searches of different people on LinkedIn. So you can get into years of experience, you can get into seniority level, you can get into a whole slew of things that allow you to build relationships with people. And that is ultimately the power of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So I would encourage you to check out the video where I go over how to set up your LinkedIn Sales Navigator to be a sales pipeline, almost like a CRM, where you're using lead lists and saved searches to auto populate things. So it takes the guesswork out of your outreach. If you send a connection request to somebody, you don't have to wonder if they connected with you or not. There's a specific list that you can go to and know, okay, now they're a first degree connection. They've obviously connected with me. Lastly, what I'll go over is the account search. So again, this is going to be companies. The filters are different than what the lead or individual searches are. You can search for annual revenue. You can search for company headcount. You can search for headcount growth of a specific department, which is really interesting. So if you want to see where a business development department is either growing or declining, you can do that here. The accuracy is going to be based on a lot of self-reported data as well as LinkedIn pulling data from different areas. Personally, I use the lead search a lot more than I use the account search, but the account search has its time and place, especially if you want to do what I showed you earlier with the account lists and add companies to an account list, but then go to a lead search where you add the filter in, like I showed you earlier. And that'll allow you to search for very specific people and titles at a list of companies that you auto populate. That is where I find the most value. An interesting filter here, though, is the number of followers. So if you search for somebody that's under that 5,000 threshold, you can likely assume that that's a smaller company. So that's a good way to kind of weed some of the larger companies out outside of just doing headcount or revenue. So that is that. Going back to the homepage on Sales Navigator, I want to show you a secret area before I let you go. So the secret area that not a lot of people know about, if you hit this question mark, you'll see this community button. And if you click community, it'll take you to the LinkedIn Sales Navigator community. And I, for years and years, didn't even know this existed. It's kind of an underground area at this point where the top super users of LinkedIn Sales Navigator are able to hang out, share information with each other, answer questions of other people, and just provide a lot of insight. It's still a very lesser known feature, but I would encourage you to go in there. And if you ever have questions, ask in there and you'll get some expert feedback for free. It's a great way to engage with people that are what I would call LinkedIn super users. A post that I just made today is going over the easiest way to reach active users on LinkedIn. So I talk about that filter that we talked about earlier, posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. But I also talk about 5 other ways that I try to find the most active people on LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So as you create a strategy for LinkedIn outreach and LinkedIn marketing, what I would recommend is focusing on the most active people on LinkedIn, using the filters and the tools at your disposal to really hammer down the type of person you're wanting to reach out to and get creative with that. Couple this with sending daily connection requests, so 25 to 50 a day, because once a day goes by where you don't send out connection requests, you'll never get that back. And that's kind of the rate limiting step of LinkedIn. If you do this, even for 12 months, and you never send a message, you never post a piece of content, but you only consistently send connection requests to people, at the end of that 12 months, you'll have thousands of new connections of your ideal market that now if you want to make a post, these thousands of people are going to see that post for free. Whereas usually you need to pay for a LinkedIn ad and not know who is seeing that. But if you're connected with somebody, it's very easy to know who's going to see your content and it's free. And so you can also send messages to those people for life. You can get phone numbers, email addresses, a whole slew of things that I go into in other videos. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. So as I mentioned earlier, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. If you found any value, reach out to us at uptowncreation.com and schedule a discovery call if you want to see how we can build a LinkedIn strategy for you. Thanks for watching.